Hey guys, how are we doing? It's Martin Cliffe here and welcome to episode 4 of my Guitar Basics series on playing pentatonics. We're sticking with the minor pentatonic for 1 or 2 more lessons before we look at some alternatives. But in this case, we're going to look at what you do when you're in a major progression. So we're going to just create a little loop first based around a C, G, A minor and F chord pattern. So let's just lay that down in a minute and away we go. So it's a kind of mid to up tempo kind of rock groove that we're looking at just at the moment. And obviously because we're in a major key, we need to think a little bit more. Whereas in major blues, sometimes you can get away with still playing a minor pentatonic in the same key. When you're playing something that's a bit more rocky, a bit more diatonic, if you will, as opposed to pentatonic, which this kind of progression is, anything that's got major and minor chords and more than 3 chords, you probably want to be thinking more diatonically. Diatonic is the conventional kind of major and minor scales kind of way of thinking that comes from Western music, classical music originally. So what we're doing here is, even though we're in C major, we want to think, because we want to play in a minor pentatonic because it's our most comfortable at this position, we think, okay, so what are the notes of C major? So it's C, E and G. So there are various scales that have those notes in. So let's also look at what our other chords are. So G is G, B and D. A minor is A, C and E. And F is F, A and C. Now we're not going to get all of those in a pentatonic, but the way to think about it is, we're in C major, so go down 3 frets from there and that gives you your basic minor pentatonic position, because that's what we call the relative minor or the Aeolian. And I know we talked about how sometimes blues patterns are more Dorian than Aeolian, but essentially for the purpose of this, for the purpose of playing over a major progression with a minor scale, we want to be in A minor. So we're at 5th position again, which is convenient. So even though, because you look at those 3 notes, those all fall. So whereas A should be thought of as our root in it to this scale, the feel of this piece being C major has that third, the minor third, which is C, as our root, essentially a harmonic root, even though we're still playing. The relationship between a major pentatonic and a minor pentatonic is very, very simple, as in this shape, A minor pentatonic and C major pentatonic, is that they are exactly the same shape. They just start on a different note. So the first thing we do then, if we want to just stick into this position shape, we could literally do that. We can just play in A minor, 5th position, over the loop. So I introduced one rogue note there, and this again is also to do with what we're talking about, voice leading and stuff. So the one rogue note I introduced was the 2, which was a B, which is in the G chord. So you want to use that. The note that's missing for our voice leading is the F. So again, we're going to add that in, which is 6th fret on the B string. So we're still thinking pentatonically for the most part. So but when we hit an F chord, we want to play an F note, or at least a note from the F chord. And when we hit the G chord, maybe we'll throw in that B, which could be there, or it could be... In the opening jam I did, I was playing, I was sliding down 1 fret to get to the B at the 4th fret of the G string, just for a bit of variety. So that could be a good opening line for that first chord pattern. Notice that I was playing the G there when we go to the G chord, so I'm kind of on the C, I'm dub playing both the A and the C. So that's a nice little bluesy line where we're bending up from the 2nd note over the A minor chord to the 3rd. And that's a really easy bend because it's only 1 fret, so even on that high E string where the tension's quite high, we can do that quite nicely. I'm finishing on the F there. And then the second time through, it cuts the A minor chord out and plays 2 bars of the F, so... So in this case, F is the 3rd of... Sorry, A is the 3rd of F, it's the major 3rd, so... That works nicely. There's a couple of points as well where, even though I'm playing an F major chord, there is an implied major 7th vibe to it. If you don't know what a major 7th vibe is, don't worry so much. But basically a major 7th chord is a major chord that has usually only one of the root notes taken down a semitone. It's usually the high one. So rather than you'll get, which is that E. So maybe I'll play that E over an F chord. I'll demonstrate that with one more playthrough of the loop. And now we don't want to stay too long on that because it is dissonant, although it doesn't sound too dissonant. For some reason, some notes sound more dissonant than others when they're a semitone out from how they should be. It's one of those weird things about the way that you hear and the way that music works. The same way some minor keys sound sadder or happier than others. But what I did was I used my first finger and did a kind of wide vibrato so that... So I was bending essentially between the E and the F. And I could have played it like that, or I could have done it like that, but bending works nicely because it's pentatonic, it's bluesy, it's what you do. So the next step then is to escape our box a little bit. So we can go upwards or downward. So the same pentatonic, you are going to end up with a slightly different shape. So we can link those together. And essentially all I'm doing there is I'm playing 3 notes and then 2 notes on the string, so. And these little slides in between really help to shift position. And we can go all the way down to the E, so. just taking that really slowly. Then we've got our E, G, A, and then C, D, E, G, A, C, D, E, G, A, C, D, E. And that's just thinking about the notes and the distance in terms of frets. All of your intervals in a pentatonic scale are either 2 or 3 frets apart. So think about, where else can I play that note? Or I could play it there, or I could play it there. Use your ears, use a little bit of brain maybe, and you can soon learn to break out of this box shape. Or even. So all these little licks that you learn and you try and throw in because they sound cool, find alternate fingerings playing the same notes. Because these are your box shapes, so that's the little house one. That's one of the weird ones. And once you get to the 12th fret, the good thing about a guitar is it all repeats up here. So we can fly up. So even if I'm just sticking to my 1 position, and I want to then do a whole rock thing, so I'll just play out. Hope this has been, again, a useful thing. We'll continue this series next week. Thank you for watching. But we'll continue the series for now with just a bit of a play out over the same groove, and I'll try and implement some more of the ideas that I've shown you just there.